Hello, I'm Will Yeoman and welcome to another episode of the Pod Well Travelled. I'm joined today by travel writer Penny Thomas, who's going to tell us about the latest luxury travel trends. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Bali's Karma Kandara, from which I emerged very much feeling the benefits of such an amazing resort only last week. So, well, yes, I'll update you on that. And later on the show, we've got Alexandra Casey telling us a little bit about Esperance, which is always a good thing to hear. But in the meantime, we'll get to Penny. Penny.
Hello.
How are you going?
Yeah, good.
Excellent. I'm a bit intrigued by this story you've got for us.
I know. Well, it just came through this morning, actually, a little report from Luxury Gold. And the report itself is titled The New Golden Age of Travel, which I think is just a great title anyway.
Yeah.
It's sort of discussing the sort of trends in luxury travel, I guess, for 2023 and beyond. What I like about this one is that it hasn't come through smack bang at the beginning of the year, where a lot of those types of reports do. So we've sort of experienced a bit of the year so far, and we can see if these trends are sort of on point or not, which, as I've been reading through, I feel like I can relate to a few of them, actually, which
I think I can as well, having come back from this luxury beach resort.
Exactly, yeah. Luxury travel is something I think we all can relate to, whether or not we can all do it.
Well, exactly. We all want to do it, but yeah, it's aspirational, I think is the right word. Yes,
for sure, definitely. But what I'll get into is just sort of a few different items that they've sort of pointed out through the report. There's about 6 key travel trends that I found were quite good, but just an interesting quote from up the top was that luxury travel itself have seen their bookings rise by 150% since last year.
Really?
So,
Okay.
which is interesting. People are back. They want to travel, and perhaps at that higher end market, they are keen. And 1 in 6 of them are planning to spend around $10,000 on a holiday this year.
Right.
Which does probably sound expensive to some people, and it is a price, I guess, per person. That's quite a lot. But because of the pandemic, people are sort of raring to go again. And I myself personally am planning our honeymoon. And as I've been budgeting for that, things can add up really fast, especially if you're planning a big trip. So we're going away for a month and things are really adding up, and we'll definitely probably hit that 10.
So as you say, it sounds expensive, but it's actually probably not particularly extravagant.
Yes, when you sort of add everything up. But yeah, I guess that is the cost of travel, and you've got to weigh it up. Is that the experience that you want?
But do you also think, because a lot of people haven't been able to travel, certainly not internationally, they've just basically been saving up their money. So they have got that money to spend.
Yes, and there's pent-up demand for it as well.
Indeed,
so yeah, that's what they've also sort of highlighted throughout the report as well, which I kind of found quite interesting. One of the top sort of trends that they've mentioned is they've called it touring on top. And this is sort of, I guess, describing gone are the days of the DIY travel. I don't know if that's entirely true, but perhaps in the luxury travel market, that's the case. And they're sort of explaining that clients want to really receive those end-to-end experiences, and they want to sort of book tours where everything is sort of organised for them all as an inclusive package.
Right, okay.
Which, looking back at the pandemic, there's been a lot of, I guess, insecurities that people have, I guess, with booking things online. Will this go ahead? So having one sort of point of contact to be able to do that all for you.
Like a one-stop shop.
Exactly.
And everything's done for you. It really does.
Yeah.
You're right.
So that was one of the trends that they've sort of highlighted. And Anna Bergdorf, who's from Luxury Travel Associates, she sort of says that, the world has changed since the pandemic, and booking a tour simply takes the guesswork and stress out of the booking process. So if you can and if you're able to, that I can understand why people are doing it.
That's the way to do it. Exactly.
Yeah. Another key trend is the regeneration rising, which is sort of talking, I guess, about sustainability and eco-friendly sort of tours as well. That's probably on the rise, but also the fact that people just want to ensure when they're going on a holiday that their trip sort of brings around positive social and an environmental impact. So I found that that's probably, people are just more cautious of where they are going. Will this benefit the local communities there, or are we creating more harm by going if it's a really peak time or something?
Sure.
So just being a little bit more, I guess, aware of where we're traveling is interesting. And what I also found was interesting is the leave to learn trend that they've highlighted in the report.
Okay.
So I don't know, what does that sound like to you? Leave to learn.
To me, it sounds like you would go away in order to learn more about the world.
Exactly. That's really kind of it.
Yes.
And I ask you because you did the weaving workshop. Was that last year?
Yeah, correct. In the Northern Territory.
Yeah, and that's the type of experiences that they're saying people are sort of really desiring these days in the luxury travel market. Cooking classes, they've got, weaving workshops, and even like archaeological digs and things like that. So really becoming involved in the experience that they're doing, and perhaps taking back something that might not be physical, but sometimes
it could be. I had my little basket, which I brought back with me. Yeah, exactly. It was lovely.
But a cooking class would perhaps give you different recipes that you can use at home. So you sort of get to hold on to that travel experience perhaps a bit longer than normal.
Yes, that makes sense.
And that even ties into the next one, which is the tangible nostalgia. So that sort of, is sort of directly sort of focusing in on the memories that you'll be able to take away. But it's also saying that physical items are sort of on the rise again, and not sort of tacky souvenirs or anything like that.
No, okay.
They're sort of saying that people are actually keen on purchasing something, perhaps like merch, if they've really enjoyed a small group tour, and then say, I want to represent this company when I'm back at home. And when they put that back on at home, they might go, I really liked that tour. And it's a conversation starter when they're also around their friends. So that's another one that I found that was quite interesting. And to me, I understand that. I've been to Nalu before, and I think we've bought like stubby holders with the Nalu crest on them. And every time we use them in Perth and crack a beer in them, we just think, how nice was that when we were in Nalu doing that on the beach.
And they're certainly the kinds of things that are accessible to anybody. It's not really within the sort of category of luxury travel, is
Absolutely
it? Anyone
not.
can afford these kinds of mementos.
Yes, and because those types of things, I guess it just depends on what type of memento you're looking for. But a really good example was, I think there was a company up north actually doing it, where they had staff who themselves were wanting to start a little micro business. So they were selling their products with sort of local indigenous sort of ingredients within these products in the accommodation. And then people could choose and opt to buy that product, and then work directly with that staff member to order that back in when you're at home as well. So those kind of ideas, I think, is sort of what they're also talking about there. With sort of tangible items that you're not just bringing back a whole, suitcase of plastic stuff that we don't need.
Basically landfill.
But I actually did quite like that one. When I first read it, I wasn't sure, but then I've gone through it and it did sort of appeal to me. Another one is the new Roaring Twenties. Again, this is probably for the luxury travel market specifically. It's people just really want to sort of kick back and enjoy the good life while they can, and the opportunities there. And for me, as I go back to planning this honeymoon at the moment, my partner and I were discussing, should we go to America? It's going to be really expensive, inflation, well, what are we going to do? And we spoke to, actually, my partner spoke to a person that he works with, and he said, if you don't have kids, do it now, because it's only going to get more expensive.
Yeah, sure. No,
and
absolutely.
so just live now if you can. And if that opportunity is there, it's always going to be expensive regardless. It's just making sure that, we won't go over our budget or anything like that.
Yes.
We'll still be sensible. But to actually just live those experiences when they're there, because, that's sometimes when you're in your prime, you've just got to go and travel.
Well, exactly.
And don't leave it
so you
too
might
late.
not get another opportunity, which is the sort of the opposite argument to the retirees who are enjoying travel for different reasons. They obviously they're not working anymore. They've probably got savings. They've got the leisure time. Just the what do you call it? The disposable income.
Yes. Yeah.
So there is that argument, but also, like you say too, if you're unattached in terms of children and so forth,
yes,
and you can afford to, and it's only going to get more expensive. You might think it's expensive now.
Yeah.
Why not do it?
Yeah, exactly. And because that pent-up demand is also there for everyone, whatever
that's
sort of
right.
age you are as well.
Absolutely.
We've missed out on a bit. So doing a nice big holiday, it seems like everyone deserves that at the moment, not just us.
No, you're absolutely right.
So that was another one that I did like. And the final one that they've highlighted is specialist stays. So unique, one-of-a-kind experiences that sort of really get you into a community and sort of scope out the area, and they're not just your cookie-cutter accommodation. So I think that's been a trend that we've seen for a long time now.
Yes.
But what makes different places unique and gives, I guess, their accommodation a sense of personality and sort of position in the world. Absolutely. I'll sort of delve into the report a bit more throughout my story. But another little thing that I did notice in there was that business class is on the rise, apparently. So Flight Centre, and I don't know how these numbers how they've got to these numbers, because I'll have to
Right.
go and dissect it a little bit more. But they're saying that 319%, or they've seen a 319% increase in business class bookings since last year.
That is huge.
Huge. But were there as many people travelling last year?
Well, that's
Or-
right. You have to look behind the figures and see what the reasons are
Exactly.
for that.
Yeah.
But it could, in part, relate to the fact that people have got more money to spend, and they're willing to spend more money
Yes.
and willing to treat themselves
Yes.
to... Well, business class is essentially luxury travel as well, isn't it?
Oh,
So, yeah.
absolutely. So it really ties into this. But I was also mentioning it because for the first time ever, I got to fly business class to Singapore. So that was
Wow.
an experience in itself, getting to turn left on the aeroplane.
It's a bit tough, isn't it? Because it's so wonderful. It's
Yes.
hard to go back.
I know,
to economy.
and that's what everyone keeps telling
Which you basically
me.
have to do, or those of us who are not mega rich have
I
to do, you know.
I've had many of my younger years, I've always spent in budget budget sort of airlines,
Yes,
and
yes.
you know, sitting shoulder to shoulder to other people and just getting from A to B very affordably, I guess.
Yes.
But yeah, that all changed when I went to Singapore. So
But now you can see why what everyone's talking about.
yes,
It really is quite special,
you can
isn't
see
it?
how the price will go up on every
Oh
holiday.
my
if
God,
you're-
it's
if you're adding
huge
that
though,
up.
isn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, it was a
yeah.
really special experience and very, very happy. I flew with Qantas and it was magnificent, really.
Okay.
And yeah, it's the only way I would like to travel.
Join the
I've
club.
never done first class as well, as you could probably tell.
Well,
Have you done?
no, I haven't. I'm assuming that would clearly be a whole extra layer again. But no, look, I'm pretty happy with business class.
Yeah, I would be too. Yeah, it does make flying just so much more enjoyable.
No, exactly right. And if that's part of your experience, it's not just about getting from point A to point B, then that's quite important.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's all I sort of had to really say on that report, but I thought it was quite a good one.
Yeah, it's really interesting, raises a lot of different points, and almost each of those points alone would deserve a standalone story if one had the time and the space. But as you say, you're going to delve in more and you're going to write something up for us,
Yes.
and I'm sure we'll see that in print over the next few weeks. I reckon we'll go to Alex Casey now in Esperance, because I spoke to her earlier this morning for the pod. So she was kind enough to drop into the West offices where we're recording from, West Australian, for the very first time. So we're able to show her around. She's one of our freelance contributors, who many of our listeners will know from her byline in the Sunday Times and the West Australian. So, like you and me, I guess, Esperance is a bit of a favourite, depending on the time of the year you go. She went on the slightly sort of off-season, or the shoulder season they call it, and found lots to enjoy. Alex, welcome to the pod.
Hi, Will. Nice to be here.
So, you were relatively recently in Esperance. Interesting time of the year too, because I guess it's traditionally the off-season, isn't it? Or what they call the shoulder season.
Yeah, well, while summer is the busiest period, it's actually really, really nice to visit in February, March, April, because you get those days where it's a glass off over the ocean, less wind, less crowds. There's actually more availability in terms of accommodation and bookings with restaurants. So I'd say it's actually probably the best time to go. Yeah,
look, I agree with you. I was there maybe a couple of years ago, and again, off season, and it's just amazing because you could it was such a relaxed feeling because it wasn't crowded, as you say.
Absolutely.
A lot of options, and I know there might be a couple of things that you can't access because they don't cater for that part of the year, but I think that's a small price to pay, isn't it? So, but tell me though, what did you get up to? Because I know from the stories that we've published from you in the paper, you seem to have covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, well, I suppose the first thing I did, which I'd highly recommend, is the Great Ocean Drive. So along that, you pass beaches like Blue Haven, Twilight, 9 Mile, each definitely worth pulling up for a swim, surf or snorkel, or even fishing. You'll catch a great sunset, and it's just a beautiful coastline drive. Definitely, I think, a must for anyone going to Esperance.
Wow, okay.
Another thing which is really, really great, is Frenchman's Peak. So they actually named that, I think, because the shape of the mountain mimics that of the hats the French would wear during the war.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so you can climb up there. There's a little cave at the top and you get beautiful, expansive views over Cape Le Grand.
Yeah, sure.
The beaches. That's just amazing. Another great place to stop in is Esperance Gin Distillery. So It's a father and son duo. And they're all about sharing flavours of Esperance with the world, which is a really cool idea. They use local botanic flavours from around the region in their gin, which is always really nice. Good to support local as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Are these the same guys you may or may not know, but there was sort of like the world's smallest distillery or something at one point?
Yes, exactly.
That was their big selling point.
Yeah, 100%. So I think they first started out of a garage.
Yeah.
And that's all they started with, I think 2 years ago during COVID.
Yes.
And now they've become quite successful, which is amazing.
That is amazing. Yeah. I love to hear those sort of great local stories about businesses like that really take off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're a massive example of that. Another really great thing would be a scenic flight. It's a really great way to get a view over the entire of Esperance. You'll see salt lakes. You fly over the beaches. You can fly all the way to Lucky Bay.
Sure.
I was in mine and even saw a couple of sharks and dolphins. So that was pretty insane. Yeah. Yeah.
So I noticed too, reading your stories, there's quite a vibrant arts scene there in Esperance as well, isn't there? And I actually particularly noticed, I can't remember her surname, but Cindy, the glass artist.
Yes.
I actually went to her studio as well when I went there, and it's just incredible. She's an amazing artist as well. Yeah,
she is really amazing, and it's definitely worth stopping in at her gallery. Yeah, she's really cool.
Yeah, but was there anything else there in the sort of art scene that sort of grabbed your attention?
I know there is an Indigenous cultural tour.
Oh, wow.
Called Dabungal Cultural Experiences.
Right.
And it's run by 3 generations of Indigenous women, and they guide you through a journey of the 6 Noongar seasons. And they teach you about bush tucker and bush medicine. And you just walk around a little area by the beach. They tell you all of their history, which is really, really amazing. So I'd recommend that for anyone interested in history and culture.
Yeah. Actually, I do recall that because I remember the lovely picture that we ran of them, and I remember reading about that and thinking that sounds absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Yep.
What about the food and drink? I mean, you mentioned the distillery, but did you have any great meals there? Is there anything you can recommend to people?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's pretty iconic to have fish and chips on the beach.
Yes, indeed.
When you're in Esperance. So Fish Face is a local go-to. Get your favourite fish there, take it down to Lucky Bay, take it to 9 Mile. That's really amazing. Downtown Espresso Bar is a really good place to stop in for a takeaway coffee, take it for a walk, or Lucky Bay Brewing actually is another really good one.
Sure.
They do awesome pizzas, and they're guided by a paddock to pint ethos. Really cool place, and that's just, I think, about 10 minutes out of town.
Okay, so it's a little way out of town.
Yeah, but not a far drive. Definitely worth stopping for lunch.
So I'm getting the sense that if you do go, it's probably a good idea to hire a car if you haven't driven down there.
100%.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say if you're flying down there, hiring a car is a must.
Sure. Wow.
I had a hire car.
Yes.
And I'm not sure how you'd get around with public transport.
Yeah, no,
probably could do it, but I wouldn't recommend it.
No, you'd miss out on a lot, I would imagine.
Absolutely, yeah. And then you'd want to go check out beaches like Wharton's and Lucky Bay, and they're both about an hour's drive from the Esperance town.
Sure.
So it's definitely worth having your own car. Just gives you a lot of freedom to do different things.
I actually did drive down there, and I guess the downside of that is it's an extremely long drive there and back.
Yes, yeah.
But it actually is worth it just for the versatility of having your own car as well.
Definitely, yeah. I think if you can spare those 8-hour travel days, it's definitely worth it. But even if you have just 3 days down there, the relaxation and refreshment that you feel is just worth every moment of the drive. So
may I ask you where you actually stayed? Because I haven't really talked about accommodation options either.
Yep. I stayed at Esperance Island View Apartments, which was really good, right on the foreshore near the jetty, which has been recently redone.
Yeah.
within walking distance to restaurants, coffee joints, the beach, everything. So that's very nice central place to
Sounds
go.
perfect.
There's also another really beautiful spot called Esperance Chalet Village. Sort of boho vibe, everything's white A-frame little houses. Really trendy, on a plot of land, I think it's 8 acres, lined by trees and framed by the ocean. So that's stunning.
Wow, that sounds really nice.
Yeah.
So, look, to finish up with, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I want to ask you what your overall impression, the vibe was.
I suppose I just felt really refreshed.
Yes.
Was step out of the city, step into nature.
Sure.
Sort of, unplug, recharge, refresh. I think being in nature just rejuvenates you, and you've got the beach, so I think it's just a beautiful place to go and disconnect from the city life and reconnect with yourself and family, nature.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, Alex, well, look, thank you so much for being on the Pod Well Travelled. Looking forward to talking to you again soon. And in the meantime, listeners can read your stories online at thewest.com.au/travel.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
What? You've never been to Bali? Now I have, which is amazing. And what a way to do it in style. We're talking about luxury travel before. So I spent 2 nights, 1 full day at the Karma Kandara Beach Resort, which is perched above the cliffs overlooking the Indian Ocean in Ungasan, and that's kind of like the really southernmost tip of the Bucket Peninsula, so right down south. Absolutely incredible. And I keep thinking, well, I'm not really sure if I can still say I've been to Bali because I just spent my whole time in this amazing paradise. And I know,
Bali.
well, maybe it is, but
yeah.
I don't know because I haven't seen anything else. But honestly, I think, first of all, the whole Karma ethos, and they've got properties all around the world, including like French chateau and stuff like that. So they don't just do the sort of Southeast Asian market, but they do that very well. I love their ethos because it's all about engaging with the local communities. It's about supporting local charities. And I saw this firsthand with I kind of had dinner and hung out a bit with the MD there, Sean, and he was telling me how they ask for everyone's opinion, all the staff members. They say, what do you think we should do here? They really engage them. They really recognise their potential and treat them like members of a real team. And Sean himself is such a creative guy because another part of the Karma experience is all about events and about activities, about artistic staff, concerts, activities, obviously beach activities. The spa itself was incredible. I did yoga, I had a massage, I had this infrared sauna. Have you ever had an infrared sauna?
I haven't actually. I've been planning on doing one soon.
They're incredible.
They're really trendy at the moment. But yeah, what did you
But they're
think?
so good because so nothing steam. You could leave your glasses on. Basically, there's no steam. It's the temperature's lower for the same effect. If that makes sense. So it's basically it's shining light on you rather than blowing. Well, like hot air or whatever else in normal
and
steam,
like
exactly.
Yeah.
There's none of that, so it's very comfortable. But boy, do you start to sweat still. But not in a sort of It's just amazing.
How long does the experience?
Well, they recommended half an hour, so I probably did about 20 minutes. And I went and jumped in the Himalayan salt soaking pool after that.
Right, and was that a cold pool?
Yeah.
So you do the hot cold sort of.
Basically, yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't super cold because it was just like an outdoor sort of pool, so it was whatever the temperature was. Wasn't freezing, but it was so beautiful to be able to do that. But those guys, they engaged the sort of local masters and all the different kinds of, whether it's tarot reading or Reiki or sound therapy.
Yeah.
The menu, they call it a menu. It's just amazing. It's just so much on offer, and honestly, one day there's no way it was enough.
Yeah. How are you feeling afterwards?
Incredible.
Yeah.
I wrote in my story, which is actually published this Saturday in the West Australian, that I actually had a splitting headache from climbing, I think it was like 360 stairs from the beach.
Right.
Very steep.
Yeah.
And it was humid, so I tend to get really bad headaches. So I went in and thought, this is great. Did this, had the massage afterwards.
Yeah.
No headache, completely relaxed, just felt like I was completely rejuvenated.
Yeah, you would have come floating back through the airport straight into the office.
Look, no, absolutely. But just the typical, you've probably been to resorts like this where they have all the self-contained villas with your own pool, your own courtyard, this sort of traditional open Bali style of architecture.
Yes.
The restaurant's all the same. I wore my mask for COVID on the flight. I wore it in the airport, but I did not wear a mask at any time while I was on the resort.
Yeah.
Just no need. No, even if you're feeling like you should, but no point. Everything's so open and airy, and because it's so big, there's no sort of feeling like you're crowded or anything, even when you're in the restaurants. So
yeah. And
pretty amazing.
Was there a lot of people at the resort when you were staying there? Were the booking numbers sort of high, or what you would expect?
I would say well, it was hard to gauge that because it's so big and sprawling. You I guess, going for breakfast and dinner, the main restaurant, Damare, was fairly reasonably crowded.
Yeah.
But I would find it very difficult to judge just from being at the resort because it's you might see the occasional person wandering around. Down on the beach, there were a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot more, and some wonderful little sort of more relaxed, like cocktail bars and cafes down there. I had a wonderful pizza down there.
Nice.
That was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's hard to say. It could have been packed for all I know, but you wouldn't feel that.
Well, that's great.
And that's the great thing about a resort like that, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, resorts are my favourite, especially ones like that. Can't get enough of them, really. But it really does. I think when you sometimes live a bit of a hectic lifestyle, those types of holidays, you don't really realise how much you sort of need them until they come along, and you go, oh, I get to just step back and just, treat myself for a moment. And the rewards are actually way more than I usually expect that I get out from them. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it. And
that is absolutely
hopefully
true.
it will be back on your agenda, I guess, from here on out.
Oh, look, it'd be amazing. And I think I said in my story, I'll have to leave that for the next visit. I seriously feel like I've just scratched the surface. And when Sean found out I was only staying for a day, he was dismayed. He said, what? You can't do that.
How do you see Bali in a day?
Yeah. Well, how do you see the resort in a day?
Exactly.
It's just so much going on.
Yeah.
So they have wonderful sort of artists in residence. There's a guy there, Reef Myers, I think his name is.
I know Reef.
Yeah, you know him? Okay. Well, there you go. So he
does great stuff. Yeah.
So I took a picture of one of his painted surfboards in one of these sort of bars down on the beach. But he actually had a residency there where he worked with young people from a nearby sort of not quite an orphanage, but they're people from sort of disadvantaged homes and things.
Wow.
Young kids. And so he spent a lot of time working with them. And in fact, Sean told me that they have a very close relationship with this institution, which is not far from the resort.
Yes.
Such that they will train up and employ young people from there.
Oh, fantastic.
To work on the resort.
That's great work.
So that's an example of their engaging with the community.
Yeah. And his art is incredible too.
It is. It's amazing. Yeah. Sean sent me a link to the sort of a virtual tour as well of one of these galleries because obviously I only saw sporadic artwork around the resort, and he's just incredible.
Yeah. It's so nice to, I guess, see there's West Aussies living over in Bali or working over there, but also giving back to the community like
100%.
that. They don't just go there just for them, if that makes sense.
No, agreed. Yeah. So look, there's lots to like. You can say to yourself, this is like a sort of 5-star luxury beach resort sort of, deal, but they're actually doing a lot. They're working very closely with the local community, with charities, and I think they do a fabulous job. So very, very happy to support them any way we can by writing great stories about them, getting more people to go there.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it. You have to go back for sure.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm not a seasoned, Bali traveller like you, but maybe I will become that one day.
Yes, I'm glad.
Well, thanks, Penny. It's great having you on the pod as always.
Yes.
And I guess we'll catch up again next time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thanks.
You take care then. Bye.